Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order this Renfrew County Housing Corporation meeting. It is Wednesday, May 17th at 1:01. As we gather this afternoon, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Could I get any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? I forgot the roll call. I'll go back. Roll call. Do we have quorum?
Yes, Chair, roll has been taken and we do have quorum.
Thank you very much. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none, could I get a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the minutes of the previous meeting held on April 12th, 2023? Councillor from Head Clare Mariah, Councillor from Killaloe, Haggerty, and Richards. All in favor? Carried. Delegations, there were none at time of mailing. Director's report, please.
Thank you, Chair, and welcome to the Renfrew County Housing Board of Directors report, which you will find on page 2 of your package. The first item that I have is an information item, and it's regarding our Community Services Office in Arnprior, Ontario. And I want to inform committee that we have moved forward on making some changes to the office location that we have in Arnprior. Currently, we are located at 80 McGonigal Street, and we share that building with our partners in paramedic services. We have talked previously, and definitely during the budget process, about one of our interests in moving some of our staff into our community housing locations, where we utilize some of our community rooms, we fit it up so that we can have staff meet with tenants within the buildings and bring services into our building. And an opportunity has presented itself in Arnprior. Our current footprint at 80 McGonigal Street is a little large for the staff that we have there. Many of our programs have streamlined our services, so we have Childcare, Ontario Works, and Renfrew County Housing in the one location. But we have an opportunity to move into one of our community housing buildings, which is Renfrew County Housing Corporation building, so one that we own on Albert Street. And this is a very unique building in Arnprior because most of our community housing buildings have the tenants in the building, they go into the building, they access their units from inside the building. But this particular building, tenants access their units from outside the building. And we have this space right now that would be an ideal space for us to move our staff to provide housing, childcare, and Ontario Work services right within a community housing building. So what we've done is we've taken a look at the space. We have been working with our partners in development and property. They've been extremely helpful in helping us design the space, and it would appear that this space will provide for us exactly what we're looking for in terms of a good office location within Arnprior. It does mean that we need to shut down our location in Arnprior temporarily while renovations take place. We have plans to do that next week after the long weekend. We have a communication strategy as well that's going to go out. Already, some of the media has picked it up, but I want to reassure committee and council and, of course, Renfrew County Housing Board that while we are making these changes in Arnprior, there will be no interruption in services to our tenants. We provide a lot of services through phone, through email, and of course in person, and we've made arrangements for our in-person appointments to continue in Arnprior. We already had taken steps to meet our clients, our tenants, our parents in locations in Arnprior that is closer to them. Some people can't come into the office, so we've found spaces elsewhere, and we're going to continue using those spaces to meet with tenants. The staff that are currently impacted will transfer to our Renfrew office for the administration component of their work. People will continue to phone the Arnprior number and they'll have immediate service provided. And of course, our Renfrew County Housing Corporation staff that currently goes into our housing buildings will continue to do that in Arnprior. So while there is a disruption in terms of the community, it's a change, we are not looking at any disruption to service to tenants, and will continue to provide the high-level service that we've always done in Arnprior. But now we're looking at a more modern environment, and it is in keeping with our intent to bring services to our tenants, to be where our tenants tend to be located. Certainly this building on Albert Street is in an area where we have quite a few buildings and quite a few tenants. So for us, this is a really good move, and you know, we feel that this is going to bring us into the next few years with lots of good programming, but really close to where our tenants are located. Item number 2 would be the Community Housing Capital Project update, and through you, Chair, if you are agreeable, I'd actually turn this over to Manager Kevin Raditz, who can speak more specifically to our capital projects and where things are at as of the end of April. Thank you.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Chair. In the attached appendix is an update on our current projects that we have in the RCHC portfolio. And as you can see, we have 5 projects that are currently in progress, and we anticipate those projects to be completed hopefully by the end of June. There are other projects that we will be tendering before the end of Q2, and the remaining projects to be tendered will be tendered in early Q3. And Chair, that is just an update on the status of our current projects. I'll stop there.
Okay. We have a question, Councillor from Pembroke, please.
Thank you. There was a power outage on Lee Street a few days ago. We had a couple of calls. Can you give us an update on that, or was there a cut in service, or was there any interaction with ORPC, or was there any need for that?
Thank you for that question, and through you, Chair. So construction started last week on the affordable housing new build on Lee Street, and during that first 2 days of construction, there was a power disruption on the property. That there was a hydro wire that was hit, or the excavator came in contact with the hydro wire. So we did restore the power temporarily to the units that were impacted by that, and by the end of this week, power will be fully restored to those units.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just wondering, is there any need for more of a collaborative relationship with our own hydro unit, or was that all looked after? Could we have helped you in any way, or to alleviate the situation? That's the only reason I'm asking.
Thank you for that question. Of course, there was several cable locates prior to the commencement of construction, and there was a couple of issues where the one line was missed. We will be having further discussions with the utility company to, in order to rectify that in the future.
Thank you.
Actually, before going on to the addendum, I'll go back to item number 1, if the information items. Are there any questions on Community Services Office in Arnprior? And any further questions on the Community Housing Capital Projects update? None. As you all know, we received an addendum, and I'll hand this back to Director Lapine, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to the board. The item is a resolution, and it's called Contract Approval Re 2023-10-RH Lee Street Roof Replacement, Pembroke, Ontario. May I go ahead and read the recommendation?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So the recommendation is that the Renfrew County Housing Corporation Board of Directors approve a partial proposal submitted by Norlock Operations, Pembroke, Ontario, for the replacement of asphalt shingle roofs and mansard wall installation at 4 of the 6 row housing units on Lee Street in Pembroke, Ontario, in the amount of $349,050 plus HST, and further that a contract be executed.
Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? The councillor from Killaloe, Haggerty Richards, and the councillor from Head Clare Mariah. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
But then you look.
Do the background, please. Oh, sorry, I did that backwards. Okay.
That's fine. Thank you, Chair. If you're okay, I would like to actually turn the background over to Mr. Raditz, who has more knowledge about this, and he can explain the background a little more effectively. Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Yes, so just to give you a bit of background on this particular project, so Renfrew County Housing Corporation issued a request for proposal to replace asphalt shingles on 6 row housing units and insulation on the mansard type style roofing. Shingles were last replaced on these particular units in 2008 to 2010, and in recent years, more so the winter months, we've encountered several roofing issues, from ice buildup to shingles dislodging from the roof, some minor water infiltration, and one contributing factor being inadequate insulation, and hence that caused some excessive heat loss and contributed to some other roofing problems. So 4 companies did attend the mandatory site meeting, and the results were, as you can see, there was one bid submitted by Norlock Operations for the amount of $457,401.40. Regarding the financials, so we have a budget of $411,845, and in this contract, when we requested the proposal, we requested that the units be priced separately, and so in order to stay within our budget and remain within budget, staff reviewed the bids from the one contractor and the separate pricing. So we selected the higher 4 higher priority units that we felt should be addressed this year, and that, of course, that amount comes in at $349,000, and we do, there is potential for some unexpected additional costs. And so hence, that's why we chose only 4 units to try to stay within budget. And Chair, I'll end there.
Any questions or comments? Councillor from Whitewater, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not familiar with this this type of building, but from what I've read about mansard roofs, is they're not very effective in our current environment. I'm wondering if this is something that has to be repeated. And the last time it says in here it was done in 2008, 2010. Have we considered a different type of roof or a different type of roofing material? Would it be more cost effective in terms of potential damage, like you said, mold and poor insulation? Or is this just the only way to keep these buildings usable in the short term is to patch them up like this?
Thank you for that question, and through you, Chair. In order to change the roof design in these particular units, it would be a substantial cost. I think part of the problem that when we did some investigation, as we indicated, the shingles were last replaced in 2008, 2010, and evidently it seems to be in that scope of work, they just addressed replacing the shingles. Perhaps if there would have been a more detailed scope at that time, They might have recognized that there was an issue with inadequate insulation, and that might have helped in the life cycle of the existing shingles. So when we did the investigation, that was kind of one of the things that we found, that we needed to address the insulation factor. I hope that kind of answers your question.
Supplementary?
No, thank you. And I'm not trying to point blame or any of that effect. I just want to see from a life cycle management perspective on the homes. I have no idea how many houses this roof type and this insulation have overall, but I just want to make sure that this is the best solution for the investment into these roofs. Are we going to expect that in 2032 we're going to be doing it again? And there's a number of houses we have to do versus a different use of the funding over a 20-year period. It's really, I'm just worried about over 20 years, are we spending our money in the right way in order to provide the right housing?
Director Lapine?
Thank you, Chair, and through you, I think you're raising some really good questions, Councillor, or Mayor, and I think it's a very important one. One of the things that we're looking forward to is what we call a building condition assessment of all of our Renfrew County housing properties that we are launching this year, and that was something that was part of our budget process, and we are looking forward to launching that and then getting some feedback on the condition of our buildings, and hopefully from there we can build upon that and look at, more effective ways to manage and keep our buildings in good state of repair, because you're correct. We have received buildings that were built prior to the County of Renfrew taking on housing. These buildings come some much older than others, and we have had for the last 20 years put in a fair amount of expense in keeping them up to date, but we're at that critical point in time where we have to look at our buildings and look at the longevity of them and what would be the best use of our funds. So what I can say is it's a good question, but we're definitely looking forward to a building condition assessment report, and just say stay tuned for that, because we'll be coming forward with that hopefully at some point this year. Thank you.
Supplementary?
Last one, Chair. Thank you. So no, I completely understand that, and I appreciate we have to have good housing right now, so I can support investing in the roofing material that's available, the best solution that's been proposed. I've got no problem with that, under the condition that, exactly like Director Lapine said, we are doing that assessment. We're looking forward, and we're going to come back with a long-term solution that spends the dollars in the best way possible. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments or suggestions? No? Okay, now I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Carried. Okay. So now I'll go to Jennifer Dombrowski, the Manager of Housing and Homelessness, for your monthly report, please.
Thank you. The Renfrew County Housing Corporation report begins on page 5 within your package, starting with information item number 1, which provides information about a fire that happened at 63 Russell Street in Arnprior on April 27th. 63 Russell has 41 units, and unfortunately, due to the fire, 8 tenants were displaced. Due to extensive damage to 2 of the units, 2 of the tenants have been rehoused in other RCHC units. Work is underway to repair the building, and staff are supporting tenants in navigating their individual insurance claims. We expect that the remaining tenants that are displaced will return by the end of this week. At this time, we want to thank the community first responders, which included Renfrew County Corporation staff, our tenants who were patient and vacated the units safely. We want to thank the Arnprior Fire Department and our paramedic services and the mental health services through the Pembroke Regional Hospital, who were on site as well. We also want to thank the Quality Inn in Arnprior for their assistance in securing temporary lodging for those that were impacted. Information item 2 is an update regarding the Community Housing Registry waitlist. And at the end of March 2023, there were 1,355 households waiting for a rent-geared to income housing offer. And the majority of the applications are for one-bedroom units. Information item 3 is an update regarding move-in, move-out, and transfer activity within our units. Move-outs are replaced by new tenants, and you will see a difference between move-out and move-in rates. In each quarter, it won't exactly line up because there is a window of time that it takes, sometimes a couple of months, to be able to turn over vacated units and renovate the units so that they can be ready for new tenants. Information item 4 provides a summary of rental notices and landlord and tenant board activity. Routinely, we see a larger number for N4s, which are notices for non-payment of rent. However, only a small percentage of those will move forward to the landlord and tenant board for additional action. In most of these situations, the rent is eventually paid, and it's just a matter of rent being paid late. Information item 5 provides 2 attachments that summarize rent arrears. And we'll see that again, rent arrears amounts have increased. Appendix 1 shows a tenant count in the last row to the right. We have 1,020 units, and for March 2023, the arrears sat at just over $182,000, and that was spread across 112 units that unfortunately did not meet their rent obligations. The arrears amount is significant, especially in comparison to pre-pandemic years. Routinely, as part of our business practice, any household that is behind in rent more than 2 months and who is not willing to enter into a payment plan with us will have an application opened with the landlord and tenant board as our only means to be able to collect rent. At this time, we have 36 cases that are awaiting a hearing or a decision with the landlord and tenant board. And just to provide some additional context to this and the amount that we see in front of us of just over $182,000 in arrears, definitely delays with the pandemic and delays with hearings, delays with mediation orders. With one specific case, we just had a hearing in this month, and over $21,000 was owed. So we're waiting to receive the order from the tribunal, but we anticipate that it will be in the favor of Renfrew County Housing Corporation. There's also several cases that are over $7,000 in arrears, several that are over $5,000 in arrears, and most are within the $2,000 to $3,000 range. You may recall from the provincial budget announcement for 2023 that the province decided to allocate $24 million investment over 3 years to help clear the long-standing backlog at the LTB. So we are hopeful that we will see this money in action with additional hearings scheduled so that we're able to catch up on our local backlog. Just taking a look over at our recent LTB caseload this morning, we're noticing already that we're starting to see an increase in scheduling in the months of August and in September of this year. So those activities will hopefully work in our favor to resolve the outstanding rent issues. Information item number 6 is the Treasurer's Report. And we'll see many variances between year-to-date actual and year-to-date budget. And this is pretty typical for the first quarter, as we're only having reporting going up until the end of March. Transactions are equally not spread out month to month, and we will see things line up more accurately as we move throughout the months of the year. Overall, there's no anomalies to report at this time. I have an update to provide that's not within the report that you have in front of you. Information just received yesterday, and this has to do with our Canada-Ontario housing benefit. You may recall at a previous board meeting that the County of Renfrew was allocated for the year 2023-2024 fiscal year, so it starts April 1st, $287,600 to have monthly rent allowances go out to households throughout Renfrew County. The province estimated that we would be able to assist 53 to 66 new applications, and it's an estimate because the monthly subsidy amount through COB varies depending on household size, rent amount, and income. So we're very pleased to report that as of yesterday, we have fully met the allocation, and that means that 60 households have now been onboarded to the Canada-Ontario housing benefit very quickly. So they are all lined up effective April 1st. And they will continue to receive this so long as they qualify and have their eligibility verified through Ontario, through an interface that happens when they look over at the Canada Revenue Tax information on an annual basis. So if they financially qualify, they will continue to qualify for the remaining term of COB. When COB was initially announced, it was announced to be a 9-year program, and the fiscal year 23-24 brings us to year 4 of that program. So this is good news for the County of Renfrew. Every year, every allocation amount that we get, the number of households grows. So if you come on to receiving COB, let's say over in the year 21, 22, and you continue to qualify, and we just keep on onboarding new households in each fiscal year as we are provided a new allocation amount. And the next item is information item number 7, which is a resolution.
I'd like to go back and get comments on the information items first. So information item number 1, fire. Actually, before I'd like to recognize Warden Emo is on our Zoom. Good afternoon, Warden. Okay, number 1, fire at 63 Russell Street North, Arnprior. Any comments? Councillor from Whitewater, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to confirm, when there is a fire like that, is the repairs that are necessary for that unit, are they covered? Do we have insurance, or is that within our, like an unforecasted budget expense?
Director Lepine.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to the board, we are insured, and there is also a requirement for tenants when they enter into a lease agreement with us to also have tenant insurance. Not everybody maintains it, but for their contents, but we are insured, and we're working with our insurance provider right now on the claim. Thank you.
Any more? Councillor from Pembroke, please.
Do we have an indication of the cause of the fire?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to the board. We are just in receipt of a report from the fire chief. We haven't had a chance to go through it yet, so at this point I don't have any comments on it. I understand that they've deemed it to be an accidental fire, but we're still going through the documentation. It's a pretty big report that we have to go through, but we just got it this morning, so still waiting further details. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more comments? I'd like to commend Jennifer Dombrowski and Ms. Lepine and every other staff person that was involved in such a rapid response to this event. I'm sure that it was, well, it's definitely appreciated by council here or by the Housing Corporation, and I'm sure all the people involved in the fire. So thank you for your attention to that. Thank you. Okay, item number 2, the 2023 first quarter community housing registry waitlist. Any comments? None. Number 3, my print has gone so small I can hardly read it. 2023 first quarter move-ins, move-outs, and internal transfers comparison. Any comments, questions? None. Number 4, 2023 first quarter move-ins, move-outs, and internal transfers comparison. That reads the same, doesn't it? Yeah. Any comments or questions on that? Item number 5, 2023 first quarter Renfrew County Housing Corporation rent arrears. Any comments? Councillor from Whitewater, please.
Thank you, Chair. 2 questions. First one is just when you take a look at the numbers, and I know, I can't remember if it was Jennifer. Jennifer brought it up. The difference between, for example, March 22 and March 23 of 140,000. My impression is that we may not have increased on the total number of units in arrears, but the value of the units that are in arrears, is it a combination of both?
Thank you, through you, Chair, to the board. It is a combination of both. There was a substantial backlog with the LTB in hearing cases, which left arrears to grow.
Supplementary?
I'm just wondering, besides the difference in the dollar value, 40K to 182K, is there a deduction or is there a concern that we should be, or at this point we're just taking note of it, or is there any recommendations that you might want to make to the board?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to the board. I think we're in a position of more than noting at this point. We're definitely doing a lot of evaluation internally to determine if we can have a strategy in place that can address this. Certainly, we are, attempting to keep people housed and to get arrears, paid up. But when that fails, we rely on the landlord and tenant board. And it's, other than it being the pandemic, there's really no other cause factor, but the pandemic has, caused substantial interruptions as far as, people's financial well-being and also their ability to cope with certain situations and decision-making.
Supplemental?
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the patience. I'll just make when I think of AMO and the opportunities that we might have to advise the provincial government on the situation that we're faced with here, does this type of information lend to a recommendation for a delegation where we could share the information for impact? I don't know if that's something that's been considered, Chair, but for your consideration. And the second thing is that when these numbers increase and the values increase, my other concern is, do you have the staffing necessary to deal with this change? And are you going to have to come back to us and say we might need to invest in this in additional staff in order to effectively manage this?
Director Limpy?
Thank you, Chair, and through you to the board. I think in terms of your comment regarding delegation to AMO, it was something we considered in terms of, it's coming up and is this something we want to raise? We feel that the onboarding of all the LTB or landlord tenant board adjudicators and the fact that it was on hold and it's only come back has definitely been a factor in many of the increases, because LTB is the only real place we can go to move tenants forward when it comes to rent arrears. And during the pandemic, there was a period of time where we couldn't even action people who hadn't paid rent. So while we know this is an issue, we know they've onboarded quite a few and they've made a commitment. We didn't identify it as something we wanted to petition the minister or that ministry on, because we see some remedial efforts going on right now. And we do know that, you know, in some cases when somebody has stopped paying rent, often it can be just a small number that creates that higher increase in the total amount. In terms of your other point, do we have enough staffing resources? We're absolutely taking a look at our staffing resources. We're contemplating how we can work on this. This is money owed to the county or the Renfrew County Housing Corporation, so this is money that we definitely want to pursue, and we're looking at that. So we may be coming back to this board at a later time to discuss other methods that we can help bring this in more in line to what would be a more manageable amount. Again, it's another stay tuned comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, any more comments? Oh, the warden.
Thank you, Chair. And just to address the question about AMO and Roma, AMO's board started having conversations with the province probably 18 months ago, identifying it as a problem. And if you'll recall, in the February pre-budget submission by AMO, there was a very pointed request for more resources and faster, recognizing that it was a financial drain. So we get monthly updates. I have an AMO meeting towards the end of June, and I'll bring it back. I'll bring back whatever information, but we input verbally our concerns on a pretty regular basis. They're slow to respond, and that's not a criticism. It takes a while to recognize a problem, resource a problem, fund the problem, and then get them on board. So I think the province has tried to respond. Could have been quicker, but we are keeping an eye on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Warden. Any other comments or questions? Okay, information item number 6, the treasurer. Oh, I'm sorry. Councillor from Pembroke, please.
Thank you. Could we go back to item number 2, the housing registry wait list? I just have a question. 1,355 applicants, apparently what the statement was made that most of them are one bedroom. Is that a reflection of the demographics, that there are less and less children, coming into the system? And is there a long-term plan for design of buildings that may become modular, whereas situations change, where more families have children, et cetera, that those buildings can be quickly adapted to house, more than 2 people? That's a loaded question, I guess, but.
Ms. Dombrowski?
Thank you, Chair. Through you to the board. So if I miss anything, please let me know. It's a big question. We'll start with the demographic part of it, perhaps. So 1,355 households that are waiting. And if we take a look over on the second chart in the information item, we'll see exactly, how that is broken down in senior households and adult households. And we'll see that seniors need 70, there's 79 waiting, and we see that other adults, there's 859 waiting, and the first 2 rows will show 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom and how that's broken down. We do have, families that are in, need of housing as well, and it is reflected in the chart. And although the 1 bedroom and the 2 bedroom need is a higher, when we look over at, multiple bedrooms, being, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, when we calculate all that up, it's representative of a high need as well. I think what we see within the demographic of applicants is that predominantly there's more single person households that have the financial need. We look over at, income and determining rent geared to income eligibility. Once, like at the very beginning of the application process, we do a quick calculation to see, are they going to qualify? Should they be on the wait list? And based on that, the majority, are tending to be single people. And I think Ms. Patrick, the Ontario Works Manager, would also attest that through social assistance, that the majority of households would be single people households as well. So that is reflected within our housing registry wait list. The other part of the question, pointing in the direction of housing stock. And I think that is something that, definitely, is coming up at all of our tables, looking at, rent affordability, looking at the adequacy of stock, within our communities, locally here over in Renfrew County, in the city of Pembroke, across Ontario. So this is something that we are all putting our heads together and trying to devise a plan to see where we might be able to be impactful and transform, housing. However, there are definite limitations, and the biggest limitation is money.
If I may, Madam Chair, just supplementary. Recently on TV Ontario, the Mayor of Oshawa and the Mayor of Brantford had been discussing, housing, homelessness, etc. It was quite profound that some of the smaller design units, like they were made for one person or two people. They're very nicely orchestrated, could accommodate people. Would that be planned for the future rather than building huge, large units that may be, excessive to providing heat and utilities to scale down to have smaller units built on that same land footprint? That may be something for discussion in the future with maybe at AMO or Roma or wherever, not Roma, but AMO. And because demographics are changing, and a lot of people say, well, we don't want these little houses, but I mean, if it's accommodating people, one or two people, rather than a huge place, maybe that's the wave of the future and be something that perhaps the corporation could maybe investigate. Thank you.
Director Lupine, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the comments. I want to just mention here that we are actually in the process of a new build right now in the city of Pembroke, which will be affordable supportive housing, and those consist of 1 and 2 bedroom units. So we are definitely looking at that in terms of moving forward. Limited resources definitely means we have to really plan well how we want to move forward on any kind of capital builds, and we are definitely having those conversations, and we're investigating and looking at where things are going. We have to take into consideration as well the seniors housing strategy that was completed recently with the County of Renfrew and how that impacts housing as well. And we're hearing, Jennifer definitely mentioned at the table she sits at and the tables I sit at that there's a real need to look at the way housing moves forward, given that this trend is not just in Renfrew County. This is a trend throughout the province. So we're looking forward and into the future on how we can definitely impact that. And our new build is a good example of us moving with 1 and 2 bedrooms because that is our highest demand. But the concept of modular or tiny homes or smaller homes is definitely things that we are talking about. And I know CAO Kelly and the warden through the Warden's Caucus has also had those conversations as well. So I think it's definitely trending out there, and we're definitely part of the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments? Oh, Warden, please.
Thank you, and just to assure our friend councillor from Pembroke, so the Warden's Caucus 7 and 7 plan really leans on the ability of the local communities to design and spec out as well as build what is best for their community, and that messaging has also been pretty consistent with AMO, and I believe the province is receptive to it, and the federal government is. They're starting to recognize that they need to depend upon local ingenuity to solve this problem. As always, the the linchpin will be financing, the proper amount of financing from the federal and provincial government. But I think the message is getting through that not every one of the 444 communities has to have the same housing footprint. So there will be, there will be all sorts of partners, all sorts of different configurations and different styles, whether it's formally announced or it's built into the program. So I can assure you that everybody seems to be on the same page. And I think when the director talks about the homelessness symposium later on in her report, it was a very refreshing opportunity to hear from the sector, which traditionally hasn't been very aggressive. So stay tuned, and we'll be back to you as a Warden's Caucus and as AMO and Roma asking for more information and trying to offer more guidance to the government. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Warden. Any more comments, questions? No, we'll continue on to information item 6, Treasurer's Report. Any questions? And also, any more questions or any questions on the extra information that Ms. Dombrowski gave? No? Okay, we'll continue on with the resolutions, please.
Thank you, Chair. Would you like me to go ahead and read the recommendation? The recommendation is that the Renfrew County Housing Corporation Board of Directors approve the elimination of the Arnprior Community Housing Representative position and the addition of a Renfrew Community Housing Caseworker position.
Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by the councillor from Killaloe, Haggerty and Richard, seconded by the councillor from Whitewater. Thank you. Background, please.
Thank you. An increase to the homelessness prevention program funding and services, as well as the temporary relocation of the Renfrew County Housing Corporation office, the Community Services Office in Arnprior, has resulted in the need to realign staffing to meet our operational requirements. And you will find attached as Appendix 4 a business case which outlines the recommended staffing changes.
Okay.
Would you like me to go through the business case?
Yes, please.
So we'll take a look perhaps at the summary section and recall that our homelessness prevention program funding almost doubled compared to 2022-2023 to now in 2023-2024. And with that, we have additional work that we're happy to do to be able to get important funding and programs out to the community. So this additional work is resulting in us having to take a look at our current staffing complement and how we will be able to meet the demand. And to do that, we require an additional community housing caseworker to help with that workload. If we take a look over at the final box to see the financial considerations, we will see the financial breakdown, which identifies the maximum salary and benefits for the positions. And this change will represent an increased annual staffing expense of just under $6,000. And that's because we are looking to cancel one position and then replace it with another position that is one pay scale higher. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments, questions on this? Councillor from Pembroke, please.
Sorry to be so verbose, but I have some questions. The doubling of the funding apparently will continue for the following 2 years as well. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And the long-range plans for that funding will continue to deal with the strong communities rent, emergency, minor home repairs, et cetera, programs. It'll be focused there?
At this time, we expect to maintain consistency with the programming that we offer through the county's homelessness prevention program supports. However, we approach the plan on an annual basis. We are required to submit what's called an investment plan that outlines how we are planning to spend the money to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and that plan has to align with the guidelines that they provide for the homelessness prevention program funding. So there is room to potentially make some changes for the upcoming years, but we have not put those plans in place
So
yet.
if there are subsequent needs that come to a head, you could recommend that some of that funding could be used for those programs based on discussion held here and approval of the county, correct?
That's correct. We would evaluate, and as we do now, community needs and where there might be, trends that are happening, perhaps, trends where people are needing more supports as far as rent affordability, as one example, and we would adjust our programming to accommodate that.
Thank you. A lot of residents within our community ask, if the money is doubled, where's it going? So I'd like to be prepared to bring that back to our council and just to reiterate what you've said here today. Thank you very much.
Director Lapine, please.
Thank you, Chair. And just if I can, to build upon that, the investment plan that we have submitted to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, we are awaiting their response, and this is to the funds that we have planned for this year. And when we do receive that, we bring that into the board and into committee and council, so it'll be very transparent, and it will outline where the funds are targeted. And definitely next year, when we are moving into putting forward an investment plan, as we've done in all the other years, we bring it through the board first so that the board is aware, and we seek direction from the board on how those funds are allocated. This year was a little different because we could not bring the investment plan into open conversation. The ministry had given us a letter and indicated that we must hold information closed until they have released the information out. So this year is a little different, but definitely we'll have that we anticipate any time and bring that through the process so that it's very clear and outlined. Thank you.
Any more questions or comments? None? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Carried. Could I get a mover and a seconder to accept the manager's report, please? Moved by Councillor from Whitewater, seconded by Councillor from Head Mariah. All in favor? Carried. Okay, there is nothing for new business. There's nothing for a closed meeting. The date of the next meeting is Wednesday, June 14th at 2023. Can I get a mover and a seconder to adjourn, please? Councillor from Whitewater, Councillor from Pembroke. All in favor? Carried. We are adjourned. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Community Services Committee, Wednesday, May 17th. It is 1:54. Roll call, please. Wendy?
Yes, roll has been taken.
Thank you. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none. Could I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes of the previous meeting, which was held on April 12th, 2023? Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor from Head Mariah, seconded by the Councillor from Killaloe, Haggerty, and Richards. All in favor? Carried. We'll go on to the Community Services Department. The department report, please.
Good afternoon, members of Community Services. My report begins on page 2 of your package. Item number 1 is an information item, as I outlined in the Renfrew County Housing Board meeting. would like to inform Community Services of the office move that's happening in Arnprior with Community Services. This is going to be a good move, in our opinion, to provide services within one of our Renfrew County Housing Corporation buildings in utilizing a common room. The space is definitely suitable for our staffing needs and will bring services into our tenant building, which is more centrally located and probably a better fit overall. We provide a lot of services to our tenants in the town, in all of our communities, but in the town of Arnprior. And with our offices located at 80 McGonigal, it means people have to come into a different location. If we can provide services within a more hub environment, we feel this is a move in the right direction. So just to reiterate what I did mention in the Renfrew County Housing Board meeting, that we do not see an interruption in services to our clients, our tenants, and parents within the community. We will be doing business a little differently over the next few months, but we want to ensure that we will provide a high level of service, meet with people in various locations within the community of Arnprior, and continue to serve our community as best as we can. Item number 2 is to inform this committee that the Renfrew County Housing Corporation has approved a change in our staffing model. We were looking to eliminate what's called a client service representative or community housing representative position and replace that with a Renfrew County Housing caseworker position. We're doing a lot more work within our tenant buildings. Staff go into the buildings, meet with tenants, do a lot of work at the buildings, and this seems to be where the need is right now. So we have put that forward to the Renfrew County Housing Board of Directors, and that has been approved. Item number 3 is the Treasurer's Report. You will see that as Appendix 1. And just to point out that it is the first quarter of the year, we identified the 3 different programs in there. And I would say I don't need to draw your attention to anything in particular. You'll see some items are higher now than budget forecasted, but we have a whole year. And we find often there's ebbs and flows. So there's nothing that's really standing out as significant at this point in time. We are on track. Before we move into the next item, I just wanted to also let this committee know that I had the pleasure, opportunity, and privilege to attend the AMO Ending Homelessness Symposium, as well as Ward Nemo. It was an excellent opportunity. I will have a full report in next month's report on that particular symposium. It was one of those opportunities where the room was full. It was full of many people who work in the housing business, many mayors, wardens, and it was an opportunity for AMO to showcase some of the really excellent work that is happening in the province around homelessness. I will bring forward some of the slide information. It's quite intense, so I won't be providing all of that in the report, but I'll definitely provide information for you. But needless to say, I think the warden and I came away with some inspiration, I would think, and lots of things we want to follow up on, as well as to say that, you know, while we have some very unique challenges happening here, I mean, we are rural, we have some urban spots and rural, but, you know, the story that we're experiencing and the issues that we are dealing with seems to be very much what's happening across the province, more so in some areas than others. We heard some very excellent presentations from our partners in the north, our partners in the southwest. We had some very good academic presentations with some nice data that we can certainly use moving forward, and I look forward to bring this for you forward in June. And maybe I'll pause there before we move to the next item. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go back to the information items. Information item number 1, Community Services Office in Arnprior. Any questions or comments? None. Item number 2, the Renfrew County Housing Corporation staffing update. Questions, comments? None. Item 3, the Treasurer's Report. No comments, questions? Okay, we'll go on to the resolutions, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee, I'll read the resolution or the recommendation, and it's the Association of Municipalities of Ontario delegation request. So the recommendation is that the Community Services Committee recommend the County Council approve the submission of a delegation request for the AMO conference with the appropriate ministers as follows. Minister of Children, Community and Social Services. We wish to advocate for funding review of social assistance programs that are going to have a tremendous impact on our resources in 2024 and beyond. As many of you know, we have what's called the Employment Services Transformation taking place this fall, with impacts happening later this year and then into the next year and beyond. With the Minister of Education, we want to advocate for greater emphasis on rural childcare spaces, including a review of the workforce crises in rural areas. We've talked about this in the past as well. And the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, funding, design, and policy should transparently and easily allow for the stacking of multiple types of funding and years of funding. And we identify the multiple funding guidelines between MMAH and the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation do not line up. And further, that the Finance and Administration Committee be so informed.
Can I get a mover and a seconder to bring this to the floor? Moved by the councillor from Pembroke, seconded by the councillor from Killaloe, Haggerty, and Richards. Thank you. Background, please.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to committee, as you know, the AMO conference is happening this year in City of London between August 20 and 23rd, and we have an opportunity to submit delegation requests. These are the ones that we would like to recommend this committee approve. It impacts all three services currently that we deliver. Thank you.
Any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Now we'll go on to the Child Care and Early Years Division report, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. Good afternoon. With your indulgence, Chair, just before I start the Child Care and Early Years report, I wanted to take a quick minute to follow up on an item that I reported on last month. I had shared that the Child Care and Early Years Division would be hosting our 10th May Day event on May 12th, which is an all-day professional learning event for the Child Care and Early Years sector in the County of Renfrew. I want to share that we held the event last Friday on the 12th at the Germania Hall, and we are very pleased that we had a turnout of approximately 375 people. That included licensed child care center staff, licensed home child care providers, early on child and family center staff, Algonquin College ECE staff and students, program advisors from the Ministry of Education that deal with licensing in the County of Renfrew, and of course our full child care and early years team here and some of our colleagues from Ontario Works and Community Housing. The day went extremely well and in my opinion was a great success, and I'd like to thank the Community Services Committee members who were able to attend, and a special thank you to the Chair and Director Lapine for bringing some greetings to the group from the county. And with that, the Child Care and Early Years report starts on page 5 of your package. And the first 3 information items are some statistics for the months of January to March 2023. Information item number 1 is the inclusion services statistics. Information item number 2, licensed home childcare statistics, and this pertains to our directly operated licensed home childcare agency, which at the time in March we have 7 homes open right now, and we just opened another home which was approved at our meeting last month. Information item number 3 are the licensed childcare statistics, which deal with the licensed home childcare agencies in the county as well as the other childcare agencies within the county, and speaks to licensed capacity versus operating capacity, children served, and fee subsidy children served. Information item number 4, 2024 Canada-wide Early Learning Childcare Funding Formula discussion paper. The Ministry of Education is in the beginning stages of developing a new funding formula for the Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare, otherwise known as CWELC, system for 2024. and the discussion paper with their proposal is on the new formula is attached. I can inform that the ministry is taking a collaborative approach in creating this funding formula and has held meetings with municipalities and has also asked for a survey to be completed by both service system managers as well as all licensees in the province to get input before anything is finalized. We will keep this committee informed of any progress as it moves forward. Would you like me to stop there before the bylaw?
Yes, please. We'll go back to the information items, and I would like to add that the May Day was quite the event. The buzz in the room was incredible. Councillor Councillor Nicholson and I were both there, as well as Director Lepine, and it was quite amazing. And the presenters were very impressed that I think we were the only county that shut down all the daycares, and so it shows what an importance we put on training and taking care of yourself for the childcare workers. It was great. Thank you for inviting us. Okay, information item number 1, inclusion services statistics. Any questions, comments? Seeing none. Number 2, licensed home child care statistics. Questions, comments? None. Item 3, licensed child care statistics. Seeing none. Item 4, the 2024 Canada-wide Early Learning Child Care Funding Formula discussion paper. Questions, comments? None? Okay, we'll go on to bylaws, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. Item number 5 under bylaws, amendment to bylaw 56-14, County of Renfrew Recreation Program. Would you like me to read the recommendation?
Please.
The recommendation is that the Community Services Committee recommends to County Council that bylaw 56-14, authorizing the County of Renfrew to enter into a recreation agreement with recreation programs, be amended to include the Town of Arnprior and District Museum Summer Experimentation Station.
Can I get a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor? Moved by Councillor Grills, or Councillor from Head Carmariah, Councillor from Whitewater. Continue, please.
Thank you. By way of background, this is a new summer recreation program in the town of Arnprior, and the approval of this recreation agreement today would allow our staff to work with the program to assess for fee subsidies and special needs resourcing support for any eligible children who enroll in the program.
Are there any comments or questions on this? Councillor from Whitewater, please.
No, just a quick question. I noticed that the language in the recommendation says be amended to include the town of Arnprior. Is there a laundry list of recreation programs that are already in an agreement? I skipped through to see if I could find it, but I couldn't.
Yes. Through you, Chair, to committee, yes, we do have some other recreation programs that have agreements with us, and there is a separate program in the town of Arnprior, but the agreement is specific to the name of that program, so this is a separate one.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Carried. We'll move on to the Ontario Works report, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to the committee. The Ontario Works report starts on page 42 of your package, and information item number 1 is the Ontario Works caseload statistics. Information item number 2 is the Ontario Works case closures. I included this information for committee just to give a bit of a sense of the amount of turnover that we experience in the Ontario Works caseload. Although the caseload itself, when you look at item number 1, stays fairly consistent from month to month, there is a lot of individuals and families that are exiting the program every month, as well as approximately the same number of new applicants coming onto the program. Moving on to page 43, item number 3 is some additional statistics that I've included for this committee's information. These are a number of programs and benefits that the Ontario Works caseworkers administer for Ontario Works clients, Ontario Disability Support Program recipients, and in some cases, other recipients who are not in receipt of assistance but are low income and finding themselves in need in the community. Further to that, the Ontario Works caseworkers also administer the emergency housing portion of the homelessness prevention program, which Ms. Dombrowski reports upon in her program as it is funded through the MMAH. So the caseworkers do have many benefits and programs that they are able to access and help assess eligibility for when they are working with individuals and families that are in need. Information item number 4 is regarding the grand opening of the Renfrew and Area Connection Center, which occurred on April 4th. And I know some members of this committee were able to be in attendance at this event. This is an initiative that's launched by the Renfrew OPP. They are, hoping to create a hub environment in the town of Renfrew where they can have some non-uniformed officers as well as some uniformed officers present to help community members that may need various types of services. They're also bringing in other community agencies to operate out of their hub location so that they can help work collaboratively with other community agencies and connect some residents to services. So we're pleased to have some of our staff working out of that location on a weekly basis. Item number 5 is regarding some public health programs. We were very pleased to have Roxanne Moss, who is with the Renfrew County and District Health Unit, attend a virtual meeting with all community services staff to update our staff on some programs that are available in the community for low-income residents. These include the Healthy Smiles Ontario Seniors Dental Care Program, and the School Vision Care Screening Program. It was certainly very, very beneficial for our staff to learn more about these programs so that they can help direct clients, tenants, and parents who they may be working with about some of these services that are available in the community. Item number 6 is regarding e-signature in SAMS. We have been really pleased to see the ministry continuing to evolve technically. They are working towards modernizing the social assistance programs and embracing their digital-first approach. And they have made some technical enhancements in SAMS in order to allow our staff who are conducting virtual meetings with clients to generate forms and applications that can be sent out digitally to clients for them to sign electronically. The ministry is really wanting to ensure that we are moving away from requirements to bring clients into the office for administrative reasons and really allowing them to have a host of options of how they can access services. And we're certainly finding that many of our clients, due to certainly the vast geography and a number of our clients facing transportation barriers, many of our clients are choosing to continue accessing our services virtually. And these enhancements in services are certainly very beneficial and have been very well received by our clients. Item number 7 is the Ontario Disability Support Program and the Ontario Works Client Advisory Group. This is an initiative that we have partnered with the ODSP office for about the past 5 years. We form basically groups of caseworkers and clients from both programs and bring the two groups together 4 times a year to have meetings about program changes, local services, and to help make sure that there's open dialogue among our caseworkers and some of their clients. We've also found this to be extremely beneficial in terms of getting feedback on our local services and hearing from recipients about any challenges that they're facing or any challenges with accessing our programs or any improvements that they see that they can make. And we certainly take the feedback very seriously and do what we can to continue to improve upon our services and implement any recommendations that we get that are within our control to do so. So the first meeting of 2023 was held on April 19th, and they are now meeting on a blended, virtual and in person, again, based on what is convenient for for the clients that are participating. And moving to item number 8, this is the final item in my report. This is just to give this committee a brief update on the employment services transformation. The Ministry of Labour, Immigration, Training and Skills Development has recently announced the third and final phase of the employment services transformation in Ontario. And this phase 3 will see the launch of the competitive selection process for service system managers in the final 3 catchment areas, which are Toronto, the Northeast, and the Northwest. So the selection process, the same as has happened in the other 2 phases, is a 2-stage process, starting with a request for qualifications, and then qualified organizations are invited to participate in the call for proposal stage, which will occur in the late summer or early fall of this year. Just a few notes about our local employment services transformation. Of course, as this committee is aware, our service system manager has been identified, and it's Serco Canada Inc. They are set to take over the integrated service delivery in October of this year. And we are working very closely with them to prepare for a smooth integration. With this chair's indulgence, I will just take a brief moment to introduce, we actually have our employment services transformation lead sitting at the back of the room today, Kelly Kasdorf, and she has been working very closely with Serco in order to develop some referral processes and some local business processes, as well as to do some training herself, and then to lead some training for the rest of our staff to prepare for what we anticipate to be a smooth transition in the fall. Yes, and Kelly has been with Ontario Works for 24 years, so we certainly are in very good hands as far as somebody leading this transformation. 25, okay. Thank you, Chair. I'll conclude my report there. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome, Kelly. It's always nice for us to meet staff. Like, we know you're doing all the work. It's nice to put a face to it. So we'll go back in the information items. Information item number 1, Ontario Works caseload statistics. Any comments or questions? Seeing none. Number 2, Ontario Works case closures. Seeing none. Item 3, additional statistics, programs, and benefits.
Chair, if I might.
Yes, please, Warden.
Thank you. Very, very quickly, the line, the funeral expenses. I don't recall when the last time was that we updated it. Was it 2 or 3 years ago? And is there a plan to tie it to a cost of living or to review it on a regular basis? Because that seems to be the one I get calls about 2 or 3 times a year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to the Warden and this committee. Yes, I believe it was updated approximately 3 years ago, and you're right, it's probably time to review that. The maximum funeral benefit is $4,000, and it is something that we do hear from our funeral homes that is often, very difficult to perform a service for that amount. Just a note with respect to this funeral benefit line, this is a benefit that is eligible for both Ontario Works and Ontario Disability Support recipients who do pass away while in receipt of benefits. We work with their next of kin to help with some funeral expenses. It's also available for individuals who are not in receipt of assistance but who would have been eligible for Ontario Works based on their income and assets at the time of death. So that's just some notes about the eligibility criteria for accessing that benefit. Thank you, Chair.
That's good. Okay, item number 4. Oh, I'm sorry. Councillor from Whitewater, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question on 3, and it kind of is linked to 5 in the sense of for medical transportation and vision care, I'm aware of other programs where there's funding available, like medical transportation for seniors as an example through Care4 or Renfrew Seniors Home Support, or the dental supports that are available for seniors through public health. How do we tie up to make sure that we're making sure that we take advantage for our clients of every available resource? Can we amplify on that?
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Nicholson. Yeah, it's an excellent question. Certainly, while clients are in receipt of social assistance, Ontario Works or Ontario Disability Support Program, they are eligible to have transportation assistance. So if they have medical appointments of any kind that are out of town, we can help with various transportation services for them to get there. We also cover, the cost of glasses and other corrective eyewear for them. The programs that are administered through the Renfrew County and District Health Unit are for low-income families who are not on social assistance. So as people transition off of the program and maybe start to work, or others who begin earning more than what social assistance rates will allow them to remain on the program for, then we can help connect them with these other services so that they don't lose the benefits that they've been receiving. And certainly other tenants in community housing or other childcare staff will use these programs when they're working with individuals who are not in receipt of social assistance. So social assistance does provide those benefits, but then there's other programs through the health unit when people are earning still at a low income rate, but over the social assistance rates. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, any more comments or questions on item 3? Seeing none. Item 4, Renfrew and Area Connection Center. Item 5, public health programs. Item 6, e-signature in SAMS. Item 7, Ontario Disability Support Program, Ontario Works Client Advisory Group. Councillor from Whitewater, please.
Question, Chair, is that what our own initiative? Are we directed to do something like this? It's a great idea. I love it, and encourage it to continue. I just was curious if it was our own initiative.
Through you, Chair, to this committee. This is we were approached 5 years ago by the Ontario Disability Support Program Office to partner with them on this. This is something that the ministry encourages. It's not required, but we wholeheartedly embrace it. It is very beneficial. Over the years, we've got a lot of feedback that, just a different perspective, and really wanting to make sure that we are hearing what we can do locally to make changes, to make sure that our offices are very welcoming, that our services are very accessible, and anything that we can hear that we can improve upon, we take very seriously. And it is a great initiative. Really pleased that we continue to have the good interest in being a part of this.
Warden Nemo.
Yes, thank you. And I just wanted to add, as I'm sure Director Lapine will next month in a report, how important it was stressed to have lived experiences shared with service providers and people that were building services or working together with other services to serve their community. I've also been lucky in the last couple of months to be invited into a couple of these as well, and it's quite sobering because you often think that you're doing the best you can, you're humane, you're supportive, but it can be undone or undermined slightly by the setting of the conversation or by a context or a nuance in a word. So it's a very good constant improvement of service. It's a task for us, and I'm glad to see it. And I was quite proud to at the symposium to say, "Oh, we've been doing this," and I said 3 years. We've been doing this for 3 years. Babble around the table, and everybody, "Oh, wow, how's it going?" And I was full of praise for it. So thank you for doing this and being one of the leaders, but thank you for doing it to improve services.
Director Lapine.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. Just building on the warden's comments, I wanted to let you know that back when we were contemplating some of our human service integration, bringing our offices together and putting all of our staff behind one counter, we actually brought our plans and ideas through this group. And they do change membership year over year, but we felt it was important to get their feedback as well. If we're making changes in terms of how we deliver services, is it the right kind of change? So the feedback, and I know, Andrea's staff attend these regularly, the feedback does come all the way up to us, and anything that we can implement, we try to, but we also bring any important information in here, and we have from time to time brought the minutes into this committee so that you can also hear what the people who receive our services have to say. So I think I just echo your comments, Warden, because it helped inform us on some of our design of our front desk at both our Renfrew and Pembroke locations. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on item 7? No. Item 8, employment services transformation item update. Seeing none? Okay. Can I get a mover and a seconder to accept the Community Services Department reports? Moved by the councillor from Killaloe, Haggerty and Richards, and seconded by the councillor from Whitewater Region. Question from the councillor from Whitewater, please.
Thank you, Chair. And I missed it. I apologize if I can ask to go back to the child care, one of the points under child care.
Sure.
And I'm lost in the midst of this long report, so I just have to find the item number 3 under Margot's report. And I apologize if she spoke to this already and it went right over my head. But I just wanted to remark on the difference between our license capacity and our children served. And there's a significant gap there of 700 and some children where we have the support of the government to provide 700 more kids with services, as an example, but we can't. And I was hoping our staff, Margot, could amplify what's the constraint there.
Through you, Chair, to committee, thank you for the question. I'm hoping that I can provide a little bit of clarity for the disparity in the numbers. One of the things that we have seen that has amplified over the pandemic is the workforce crisis, and so it definitely stems into the childcare and early years sector, of course, and so that does play a part in this, where some of the centers have to close rooms or programs if they don't meet ratio for staffing. One of the other things that I can share is that the 2 licensed home childcare agencies that are a part of these numbers, one is directly operated by us at the County of Renfrew, and the other one is operated through the PMFRC. So the PMFRC, their licensed capacity is for up to 40 homes. Right now, they only have 3 homes open. With the County of Renfrew, our agency, we have a licensed capacity of 25 homes, and we are currently operating at 8. So where the numbers get large is that each home would have a licensed capacity of 6. So for us, for example, with the County of Renfrew agency, our licensed capacity is 150, and PMFRC would be 240. So those homes aren't open right now. That is a continuous promotion that is happening, but it does definitely speak to the numbers a little bit.
Supplementary?
And correct me if I'm wrong, but there's also you'd mentioned workforce component, but also the pay rates that exist currently for ECE?
I believe that's part and parcel of the staffing crisis for sure.
Perfect. Chair, if I could then, I know we've approved already a part of a delegation that includes, and I have to skim back to that part of the report, but is it worthwhile including that as a concern from a county perspective, the ECE pay rates? And
Director Lapine, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. We do have that as workforce as part of our package, so we will be building a policy paper that we will bring as well through here that speaks to not only the need to increase the number of rural spaces, but also the workforce crises that we're definitely facing, which is happening across the province, and that does include the rate of pay that impacts the number of qualified ECE staff that applied for work in the area. So it is definitely on that. Thank you.
Thank you for the indulgence, Chair.
No problem. Good question. Good. Okay, we'll go back to, there's no new business. Oh, we didn't vote on that? Oh, okay. Call for the vote. We had the mover and the seconder. Okay, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. There is no new business. There is no closed meeting. Date of the next meeting is Wednesday, June 14th, 2023. Can I get a mover and a seconder to adjourn, please? Councillor from Killaloe, Richards, and Killaloe, Haggerty, and Richards, and the councillor from Pembroke. All in favor? Carried. We are adjourned. Thank you.